Sorry, stepdad here. Sorry to those of you who been waiting on the Mass Effect to come back. Been a little preoccupied. Haven't really been able to spend too much time playing games. I've been only able to make videos in my free time. But I'll be trying to get some time in to get those videos started back up. And I will still be talking about certain things that irritate me. Kind of like the whole censorship thing that's been going on. I mean, Trump, the current president's been censored for inciting violence, yet individuals who have incited violence, like last year and all the times before that, were never censored like he has been. Would rather have the rules applied equally rather than one group gets preferential treatment. That is what the average American hates. Is when one side gets treated like different than the other side. I'm calling on these social media companies that did this to Trump should also do it to those that are. And there's been a lot of Democrats that have stated stuff like harass members of this group or harass members of the Trump administration. That is actually calling for, that is a form of violence. That is a verbal assault. There's no way of looking at it any differently. Harassment is a form of verbal assault, and which technically is a crime. You want to be the representatives of fair media, yet you don't show it by your actions. You need to show that, yes, you're going to be fair when handing out these punishments. I don't condone violence on either side. I probably do lean more Republican than I do anything else. But the Constitution is where my judgments are based off of. And I've actually come up with something to say. When it comes to the Pledge of Allegiance, we don't have to remove the whole one nation under God part. How about we make it to where you can say whatever religion, like Allah or whatever, instead of just completely removing that. I mean, yeah, originally wasn't in that. And I don't see how there is any racial bias in the national anthem myself. In the national anthem. And I don't understand why there needs to be two separate national anthems because of race. But things just got me thinking. By the time Biden's out of May, by the time the next election comes out, I will actually be out of the army. And I've thought of us a couple times of running for a formal office. And from what I've reviewed here in Iowa, there is no actual requirements outside of being a law-abiding citizen and what the Constitution says. I mean, you got to file the paperwork and all that to be on the ballot. But I'm tired of the extremism on both sides. it's getting to the point where there needs to be another party if this is the way it's going to be. There needs to be a voice of reasoning between the two parties and not giving just pretty much bending over backwards at a certain point in time just to give one side everything they want and the other side gets nothing. It needs to be where a compromise can be found, not just one side gets what they want all the time. And that's what I'm seeing is it's pretty much one side gets its way or not at all. And that's why I feel the Constitution is kind of under attack, is because people are trying to get their way rather than trying to come up with a compromise. I mean, if you want to call me a Republican, a conservative, that's up to you, but I'm more basing my decision on wanting this country to be able to keep its constitutional rights, yet be able to have a discussion about certain aspects to where the right people are being taken care of when it comes to not being allowed to have firearms because certain violations of the law, instead of trying to make it to where you're people that don't break the law and are allowed to have their constitutional rights, yet you just want to lump them in together all in one and cause them all to suffer instead of making these ones suffer for their mistakes rather than these people have their rights left alone. That is what I'm seeing. And also, it's these special interest groups that get their claws into these political leaders is what's causing a lot of these politics to butt heads and not really think about the country as a whole. They just think of their special interest groups. You need to get away from the special interest groups, or else it's never going to end. Now, going to the soldiers at the Capitol. Yes, I am a member of the military. I understand that sometimes rest areas are not able to be put up. But for crying out loud, they're a home station. They're in the country. You don't need to have them sleeping in the middle of the Capitol building because you're afraid. Which comes to think of it, why weren't the National Guard? You've got to also be prepared for both things. You let all that rioting happen for days and days and days, but right when the Capitol gets pushed over, you decide we need more security. If you're gonna want security at this, but not at this, you might want to just think about your political leanings, because if you're going to go after this group really hard, you got to do the same for this. Yes, I'm calling out a bunch of hypocrisy. And that's what I'm going to aim for, is hypocrisy. If I make a video about politics, it's going to be about their hypocrisy. And if I make a statement that's hypocritical of myself, you can call me on it. But I want everyone to be, if you're going to treat one group a certain way, you got to treat the other group that way, same way. No more of this. This group gets special treatment while this group doesn't. That is what's causing certain political groups to be treated like they are, because they want to be hypocritical about things that should not be have that kind of standing. I mean, all the rioting and burning in all these like Portland, Minneapolis, New York, DC. There's places going, oh, it's just a mostly peaceful protest. How's it peaceful when buildings are getting destroyed, things set on fire, people getting dragged out of cars and beaten within an inch of their life? Yet you get to storming the Capitol building. I mean, yeah, you had a few bad people. 4 people died. And you want to call that an insurrection. Technically, what those people were doing in those other towns was also an insurrection, which is more of a terrorist threat. You had also a group taking over a section of a town, and did nothing about it. That is actual terrorism. Because, yeah, they may not have been a foreign entity. That was domestic terrorism. They took over that portion of the United States and turned it into a zone for themselves to do whatever they wanted to. That, because they wanted their political beliefs, wanted to enforce their political beliefs. Yet, how many people got arrested for that? From what I understand, very little. You need to, if you're going to do this, do it the right way. Because there's no way you're going to unify the country if you're going to treat groups differently. Okay? This really does irritate me. Yeah, I got that off my chest. Probably should go back to some of the things. My wife actually recommended talking about diseases and stuff. She has Graves' disease, and that makes it harder on her to do certain things. Which, if you're not aware, Graves' disease actually is a disease that involves the thyroid. So you have less energy to do stuff, and you do get forgetful. And I myself am pretty forgetful. I don't even remember sometimes what day of the week it is. I believe the way this country's gotten, it's the part that's always going to irritate me. I've also been trying to upgrade my computer due to the fact that, yes, it's going on about 9 years old. Just haven't gotten all the parts yet. Because once I get once I get all of the parts in, I'll be able to play a little more seamlessly when it comes to games, and I'll probably start actually streaming. I did a test stream on Twitch, and it looked like it lagged like no other. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to stream until I get that taken care of. But eventually, I will get to streaming gameplay. And when it comes to what's been going on, I'm gonna take care of my family first, instead of worrying about politics. But in the event the Constitution they come after the constitutional rights, I will be standing up to defend the Constitution. And maybe I get a chance to do it from within if things come if God sees it that way. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and look after your family and your friends and your close friends, because technically some of your close friends are probably close enough to be considered family. And I hope to see you next time.